Okay. Good afternoon. I don't know if it's morning at your end or if it's evening at your end or anytime you're watching this video. Uh, Good day and welcome to today's class. And we are going to be um revising, and also I'm going to be showing you some things that I feel you should know, even if it's not really a maybe a beginner NodeJs stuff, but at least you should know about them. So I remember that in our routes we've been using just access token whenever we generate token. We've not done access token refresh token um uh kind of implementation. Okay, and I'll show you how I actually implement my own, right? How I invalidate tokens and how I implement the tokens. Okay, so first let me just explain how access token refresh token works. And before I explain that, I think if there is enough time in this class, we might also do login with Google, how to implement login with Google on both front end and back end. So right. Um, let's start already. So normally when you're um when you want to handle authentication, one of the standards ways when you're using bearer token is that, or when you're using token is that's token that the front end is going to store, right? You would need to have an you need to create a pair of tokens, right? And one will be your access token and the other one will be your refresh token. And why do we need to create two? Now, you create two for, okay, so I'll explain with scenarios, but the refresh token lasts longer than the access token. The access token is temporary and would always change with time. But then the refresh token will still be changed, but if it's not being used, if the refresh token is not being used, it will take a longer period of time to expire, or it will take a longer period of time before it will be invalidated or not valid to be used anymore. Okay, so refresh tokens just they are used to get new pair of tokens. So let's take for example your access token expired. Is the refresh token you always use to get another pair of access and refresh tokens, and then you store it and then you keep using the access token until it expires. Then you use your refresh token to get a new access token. So a refresh token could last for like from like let's say 7 days to like 30 days. Access tokens can last from like 2 minutes, 10 minutes, or 15 minutes, right? Depending on how tight you want your security to be. And one of the good reasons for having access token, refresh token is, let's take, for example, you suspend a user, right? If let's take all you want to block a user from using your site, right? With the normal token we have, you might not be able to do that easily because except you're going to be checking the user every time the user makes a request. So each time the user makes a request, you check if if you go and fetch his details and then check if he's suspended and the rest, which is not cost effective, because if you're being charged, let's take for example, um you have 5,000 users, and that 5,000 users, each of them make one request. Or let's say you have 20,000 users, but then there are 5,000 users that are using your um your back end. You get at the same time, like they're interacting with an app that's using your back end. So, which means every time those users make requests, let's say the 5 users are making at least 3 requests per 2 minutes. Do you get my point? Like, let's say they are making 3 requests per 2 minutes, which means 5,000 users will make 15,000 queries to your database in 3 minutes. If you're checking, if maybe in your middleware, you make it that once you send, once the front end sends a request, before that request is being processed, a middleware checks the database if the user is suspended or something. That will be a whole lot of, then that will in fact times your bill by 2, because after making that request to the backend to check if the user is locked, if the user is suspended or the user is blocked using the middleware, the controller will still make another request to the backend to do whatever it wants to do, right? So the best thing is to use, you can suspend the user, and the user after like some few minutes won't be able to continue to have access to uh the back end, because the user won't be able to get a new access token to continue his or her interaction with your back end, right? So it helps in controlling users, right? And also in cases or scenarios where you want to change a user's type, maybe a user is, for example, an admin, and you want to change that user from an admin to maybe a super admin, or you want to change a user's role, right? And remember that the access token stores the user's role. So doing that adjustment to change the user's role might not be very simple, using only access token. So when the user like interacts, right, and maybe if the user is already logged in and he's using the app and everything, and you change the user's uh role, it might take like that 15 minutes or 5 minutes, depending on when the access token will expire. Then when the refresh token goes to the back end and the new access token is created, that new access token can reflect the user's new role or something. Okay. So, but the only downside to it mainly is that you don't have instant um results, right? Like, for example, if you suspend the user and the user still has a valid access token, the user can still make some interactions before that token expires, right? So, and I remember I talked about using something like sockets.io that once you suspend it, yeah, that works actually. But if the user is not online and the user did not receive that notification, and then when the user comes back, okay, maybe his refresh token, if his access token is still valid, then he might still use it for some times too. So the single source of truth would be to use that access token, refresh token stuff, rather than depending on you can use sockets.io too, or any other way. The other ways people do it, some people use Redis. So they store the user's session on Redis, and then each time, so yeah, that is also another way to even do it. You can use Redis to store the user session. Then on each request, you query Redis. Maybe you have a middleware that queries Redis to pick user details and all those stuff like that. And because Redis is faster, and you can install Redis on a VPS and use. So you can do that. But the simplest way is to use access token, refresh token. So I've been talking since and they say actions speak louder than words. So let's actually go into action. Right. So I'll reshare my screen. I'll reshare my screen, come here to this code base, and so this is how it's being done. I don't know. I think I should create a new, I think I should create a new project also. So what you can do, right? Or what I think I should do is I think I should just create a new project or open a project that, okay, yeah, I remember I spinned up a new project, and I think I should use that project. So I'll reshare my. Okay, so what you do now, this is like a project we just like we spinned up in the last class. Okay, so I think I'll just put all the endpoints here, right? For to make it simpler to understand. So first you have a an endpoint to log in, right? So we'll just say app.get, then I'll say login. Then the next one you have is to refresh the token. Okay. Then the last one you have is the next endpoint, or the next endpoint you want to get is the protected endpoint, like a normal protected endpoint. Protected endpoints. So I'll just say / protected. So here what you do is you'd say request response next, right? Then inside here, what you do is you install JSON web token. So npm install JSON web token. Then after installing JSON web token, which you're going to use to create the tokens with that you would use. Okay, while that one is installing, what we will do is we'll then say okay, so we'll just say login. I think I'll just say list of users. I'll just say let users equals to an empty array. I don't want to start configuring posts by MongoDB. So I'll say I'll just say email password that way, and array.body. Then what else do I need to do? I'll just hash the password and store it. So I'll just say bcrypt. I think it's bcrypt.js. I think it's bcrypt. npm install bcrypt. So what did I install? uh, JWT equals to require JSON web token. Then next one is going to be bcrypt. I can't even remember if it's bcrypt or bcrypt.js. Can't even remember. Let me check it. Oh, it's bcrypt. Okay, yeah, I installed the right one. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Matilda, I've seen what you said. Yes. Sorry about that. Okay. So, I'll just say hash password equals to bcrypt dot hash sync, and then I pass the password. And if you have salt, you can also pass it, or I would like to pass the rounds of hashing that should go on there. Then I would say users dot push. Yeah, users dot push. I think this should come. Let it be here, sure. So users dot push, and then we are pushing the email, and the password should be the hashed password. Then the next thing you want to do is you want to create the okay, so I think I should just create IDs for these people. So I'll just say npm install uuid. So I could actually create unique IDs for these people. So let's don't know why I'm using var. Okay, uh let that bracket equals to require uuid before version 4 is what I want to use. Then what else could I want to do? So I just want to, I'd say what the ID should be before, so that each time I push, before it's push that user, it's create a unique ID for them, right? Just think of this ID as your normal database. In fact, let me just call it underscore ID. Let it correspond to what we've been using before. Then this is how you do it. So you now say um you say uh refresh token should be equals to bcrypt dot compare. Oh, am I saying bcrypt? JWT dot sign, and of course you'd sign whatever I want in there. So you could say I could just make this the user details. User details equals to that. Then you then say you want that. So I could decide to hash but don't do this because there is a password here, right? And I want to just say ID should be user details dot underscore ID, and the email should be that the user email should be user details dot email, right? Okay, let me call this the access token. Then the refresh token could be equals to so this part depends on you. What some people do is they also make the refresh token a JWT, just as the access token, but with a longer lifespan. What some people do is they hash something or encrypt something with a key, and there are different ways to do it. But what I rather want to do is, or what I rather like to do is, I usually or I give a temporary ID here. I could just say temp ID equals to, I could still use V4, right? To just generate a temporary ID, which will always change each time I want to uh um what's it being called again? Refresh the token. So this is my flow. While this temporary ID, in fact, even if you see this temporary ID, you will not know how I'm signing the JWT, so it's still safe. So I'll say JWT dot sign, and then I'll say I want to sign the ID of this user, the ID of the user, which is user details dot I underscore ID, and then I want to sign the temporary ID also in. So I'll say this should be user details dot temporary ID. So I'll put those brackets there. Then what I'll do now is I'll give them their expiry date. So there are two ways to give expiry date. You could just say exp here, and then you give it your expiry date, or you use, okay, after the key you're going to use here, maybe your key is that random character. You can then say expires in. So this expires in is actually more interesting. If I want this, so this is the access token, right? If I want it to expire in 1 hour, I'll just say 1H, right? If I want it, if I want it to expire, so I don't know the one for minutes. I think it should be MIN or M. So let me check their documentation. Let me check JWT's documentation. We'll go there together actually. It's not like I'm going there alone. In fact, let's leave this one. Let's not leave it in the sense of leaving it. What I'll just do here is exp should be um uh new dates. This new dates think so new dates plus 1,000 times, where is times? This just give me events. Just give me a moment, please. So this is going to be uh this is going to be date dot noun divided by 1000 plus 60, and I'll explain 60 times 1. So let's see if we did date dot now, let's see the result. So it gives you the milliseconds from 1st January 1970, if I'm not mistaken, right? I think this is called the ISO dates. So date dot now divided by 1000 is going to give you the value of 1 millisecond. So these 3 lines would give you the value of what you have in 1 minute. So what you're doing here, right? What you're doing here is you're increasing the dates, right? You're saying the milliseconds now divided by 1000 to give you the value of 1 second. Then 1 second. Okay, so you do date dot now divided by 1000, then plus. So this part is saying 60. So you're doing 60 seconds times 1, which will still give you 60 seconds, which is 1 minute. So if you want to make it like 5 minutes, you then say 60 times 5. But then there's still something we are missing here. You write here math.flow to round it, because this is going to give you a decimal number. Then you then put this in brackets that way. So you have math.flow date.now divided by 1000 plus 60 times what? Times 5. Okay, so you're asking why I'm dividing rather than multiplying. So now remember that this date dot now is giving you the milliseconds, right? It's giving you the milliseconds from that time, but you want to convert milliseconds to seconds. That's why you're now dividing it by 1000. Do you get? This value here you're seeing here is the milliseconds from so Matilda, yeah, I've seen what you're saying. I've seen what you're saying. You're saying that should be multiplication. So see it. So the number of milliseconds elapsed. Okay, I was correct, right? 19. That's returns the number of milliseconds elapsed since midnight, January 1st, 1970. Universal Coordinate Time, UTC, coordinated time. So what you have here is the time in milliseconds, but to convert it to seconds, you have to, okay, Steve, let's go on. let me reshare my screen. Let me reshare my screen. So let me ask you, how do you convert what showing you? So, Matilda, can you see it? Can you see it? So to convert milliseconds to seconds, you divide by 1000, not multiply by 1000. Do you understand? So I know you it's kind of confusing. 1000 milliseconds make 1 second. So if you want to convert a millisecond to second, you have to divide it by 1000. Do you get? So yeah. So now let's go back to, let me go back to sharing that screen. So once you've been able to convert, right? Once you've been able to convert your seconds to milliseconds, the next thing you can now do is you can then decide to add minutes to it. You know that 60 seconds make 1 minute. So that is why you're now saying, so now what I'm doing is 60 seconds times 5 will give me 5 minutes later. Because we have 60 seconds. If I just wanted this to be 60 seconds or 1 minute, I could just say times 1, which will still give 60, which will just add 60 to the 1 millisecond. I mean 1 second. So that will make it 60. That will make it 1 plus 60. That's 1 second plus 60 seconds. So that's like saying 1 plus 60, which will make it 1 minute, like 60 seconds into the future. So if this is 2, this is like saying 120 seconds into the future. Okay, that's 120 seconds away from this date dot now. Abi, from this second. Yeah, so Matilda, what I got from this division is the seconds. So it's 1 second, like what is the value of 1 second? Like how do I, what is the value of seconds when I divide these dates in milliseconds by 1000? You get, what is the value? It's just like saying I have 1 gram. Okay, I have 100 gram. And then if I'm converting 100 gram to 1 kg, to kg, what do I need to do to convert 100 gram to 1 kg? You know that obviously you're going to divide 100 gram by 1 kg, which is 1000 gram. So that will give you, so you go back 3 times, like you move your decimal point 3 times, which is 1, 2. That will give you 0.1 kilogram. So 100 gram, right? If I'm correct. 1, 2, 3. 100 gram will now give you 0.1 kilogram. It's the same scenario playing here now. So, but if you have like 5 products that are 100 grams each, right? Instead of you doing, okay, you can just do 100 gram divided by 1000, which is 1 kg. That will give you 0.1. Then I'll say 0.1 times the number of products you have that are 0. That same 0.1 gram. If you have 5, that will be times 5. Or you do 0.1 plus 0.1 plus 0.1 plus 0.1 plus 0.1. It's up to you. So that's the same scenario playing here. Millisecond is less than 1 second. So for you to convert millisecond to second, you divide by 1000, and then the value you get there is that particular second, that time, that second. You understand? Then you want to increase the time by maybe, let's say, 5 minutes. So that's 5 minutes into the future. That's why we have this particular part. So this 60 seconds now is converting it. So if I want to convert this to 1 hour now, I'll just say 60 times 60 times 60 times 60 times in fact, I wanted to say times 1, but 60 seconds make 1 minute. So this part would already make this other side 1 minute. So times another 60 here will be like 1 minute times 60 minutes, which will make it 1 hour. So if I want this token to last for a day, I will now say 60 times 60 times 24. Right? 60 times 60 times 24. This will make this token last for the next 24 hours. So we are Matilda asking what the addition is for. This addition is once you finish your conversion, right? You add that future time to the seconds you have, to the seconds that you have here. So if the seconds is like okay, let's take for example the time given, the time when you do this conversion, the time given is 1:45 p.m. But that 1:45 p.m. you now have maybe like 53 seconds, and then you want to increase that you want to say maybe the time that that token should expire should be maybe 30 minutes from that 1:45 p.m. with the 53 seconds. You want to increase it by exactly 30 seconds. So this is the 30-second, or this is the part you're going to do your increment. And after doing your increment here, you now add it to the milliseconds you have. Does it make sense now? Does it make sense now, Matilda? Yeah, so now this other part is not second. Now, this other part here depends on you. Do you get? This other part depends. So if you want it to be seconds, now you remove all these parts. If you want it, this one will give you 1 second. Or if you still do times 1, it will still give you sorry. If you do plus 60, now like this, it will still give you this will give you 1 minute. If you do times 1, it's still the same thing. If you want the date to, or you want your token to expire after 2 seconds, after 2 minutes, you do times 2 here. So this is like saying, this is converting the whole thing to seconds, right? This 60 times 2 here is calculating the total number of seconds you want to add to this time. The total number of seconds you want to add to this part. Does it not make sense to you? Okay. Okay, let me break it down. Let me look for another way to break it down. Let me look for another way to break it down. Okay. This part of this code is used to convert milliseconds to seconds. So if you have, for example, this value is the milliseconds from 1970, 1st of January 1970, right? In fact, this time you're seeing here contains, this is the date and time. This is the complete date and time you need in this life, this particular one. But this is in milliseconds, right? And you want to convert this to seconds. That's why you're doing this part. That's why you're doing this, to convert it from milliseconds to seconds. So now this date now will be in the value of converting this date, like doing this date now divided by 1000, the value that will be given here would be in seconds. The date, the same date, but the same date in seconds, not milliseconds. Do you get up to that part? Now you have this date, but you don't want your token to expire that same like time. Now your token is supposed to expire in the future, like maybe 5 minutes later or 10 minutes later or 20 minutes later. But remember that you want to add either seconds or minutes or hour to the current date that you have. You understand? So if this part is giving you the seconds, right? And then you want, let's say for example, yeah, it's giving you this particular second, that this thing is expiring this second. But then you want to increase the expiry date by 1 minute. That is, you want it to expire in a minute after that. That's 1 minute after that particular time, like this particular date and time now that is in seconds instead of milliseconds. That's why you have this part. So doing this now is saying increase this date, right, by 1 minute. That's add 60 seconds to this date. So if at all this user logs in, this token will expire after 60 seconds. Because remember that this part gives you the seconds for the date. It gives you the date in seconds rather than milliseconds. But then you want to add minutes. Now, if you want to now, this is different from converting this date to minutes. This is different from converting the date to minutes. Do you get? There's a difference between converting date from second to minutes to hour and adding minutes or hours to that date. Those are two different things. What I'm doing now is I'm first converting the date to seconds so that I can add more seconds to the whole thing, to that date. So this part, whatever I do inside this bracket now, is going to be the seconds that I want to add to that date. So if I am adding 60 here to this to the value of this, in which is the date in seconds from the 1st of January 1970. If I did this plus 60, this is just going to add 1 minute to this date. Now, if I want to add let's say 5 minutes, I'll just say times 5. So this is like saying 60 seconds, which is 1 minute, right? 60 seconds times 5 will give me the total number of seconds I need to add to this date in seconds to make it 5 minutes into the future. Does it make sense? Does it make sense now? So this is the time in seconds, while whatever you're doing here is still in seconds, but the number of seconds you want to add to this date so that you once that seconds elapse, the token will expire. So this 60 times 5 is you saying 60 seconds, which is 1 minute. 60 seconds times 5 will give you the value of, you know, so this is the thing. This adding, I've seen your question. This adding is adding to the seconds of the dates that you have. Do you get? Okay. So let's say this is a particular date, right? Let me see if this will work. Okay, so this is this time, right? Now, look at this. Plus 60 times 5. You've seen the value it gives us now. Let me copy it and let me pass it as a date now. I don't say new date. And I say new date and I'm pass it. Okay, so let's look what happened. Okay. Okay, wait. I know what happened.
Right, don't give me money. Don't give me money.
So I'll say divided by 1000 plus 60 times 5. Let me put this in brackets. Give me that.
Don't want to do that. Donc, tu vois, je donnerai ma
Then
stock à vous.
the next thing I'll do
This
is
is very key for me.
let's see if this would work.
See whether she don't go for
Okay.
me to give you one. Let me give you one.
Okay, this one's work.
Let me give you one very key for
So
me. Let me bring one.
okay, now let's look at this. This is 12, 37, 57, whatever. But this 12:37, if you add 5 minutes to 12:37, what does it give you? 12:37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42. I've just added 5 minutes to 12:37. Abi, I just added 5 minutes to 12:37 to give me 12:42. Okay, if I now do 12 60 times, let me add 2 hours. So I'll say 60 times 60 times 2. 60 times 60. 60 times 60 makes is one, like 60 seconds times 60 minutes makes 1 hour. Then times 2 will give me 2 hours. Then let me convert these 2 hours now to a date that you can read. Now, have you seen this is 12? Abi, what was the original time? Let me increase this. What was the original time? The original time was 12:37 and 57 seconds. What is the new time? Yeah, so it was 12:37. This is the new time. I've added 2 hours, exactly 2 hours. It was 12:37 before. Now it is 14:37, which is 2:37 if you're converting this to AM and PM. It's now 14:37, which is 2 hours later. Okay, let me add a full day. Let me add 24 hours. Let me add 24 hours. So instead of 2 hours, I add 24 hours. Then I should convert this to a readable date. Have you seen that the date has changed from, it's still 12:37:57, just as this one is 12:37:57, but the date has changed from second to third. It has changed from second to third. Have you seen from second of with this same time to third the same exact time? I just added 24 hours to the date. Does it make sense now to you, Matilda? Okay. So I guess it's because I was explaining it, but I wasn't showing the examples like the example like this. That's why it was kind of abstract or like a bit confusing to you. Okay. Yeah, using expiring is much better, but I haven't used annotation for minutes to expire in minutes in you can actually research about how to use minutes if you want expires in if you want to use expires in. So but what I'm simply doing here is Kingsley, don't worry, the video is recorded. You're going to be able to watch it later on. Welcome. Okay, so what we just did, what we are doing currently is we are looking at how to create access and refresh token and how to use it. You know, before now, we've been using access token, access token, but we've not looked at how to use access token and refresh token. And then we also discussed about the reasons why you want to use access token and refresh token, like in a situation where you want to suspend the user, right? Or you want to change the user's role and you want that to take effect, even if it will not take effect immediately, but you know, as the user's access token is expiring, and then the user is getting a new refresh and access token, the effect of your change will then reflect. So yeah, that was what so we're looking at how to set an expiry date for the access token, right? And which is what we are battling with. So I said this is how to first this date dot noun is going to give you the time in milliseconds from 1st of January 1970. Then to convert this time, or sorry, the time and date in milliseconds to seconds, you have to divide it by 1000. So dividing that time by 1000 will give you the seconds, the seconds between 1st of January 1970 and today. Then from there, if you add 60 seconds to that, the result of that conversion, it will give you 1 minute into the future, right? So if what we did here is 60 times 5, which is the value, what the value this multiplication will give you is the time in the future, right? It's 5 minutes into the future, like 5 minutes ahead, right? And then what we are doing is we are adding that 5 minutes to the milliseconds we have now. So that was what was a bit confusing for um um someone, for Matilda, and then we're able to show how it works here with a real date, like getting the time and converting it and like converting it from milliseconds to seconds, adding the time. The reason I removed this decimal is I was converting it back from seconds to milliseconds before I now show the dates. That's why I removed this uh, uh, dots. or the period there. So that's how you can do. So I want this token to last for 5 minutes, but then this particular one, I want it to okay, I didn't assign a token here, so I'll just say the token will be different. Don't use the same access token key to sign the refresh token key. So I'll just write a random access token key. I know these things you're supposed to put them. In fact, let me do best practice, Sham. So npm install .env. Then at this point, I'll then write require. Let it finish installing, Sha. Let it finish installing. So here, I want to use, I could still use this format to specify the expiry date, but rather than that, I would like to use what is it being called? Expires in. If I want it to expire in 7 days, I'll just write 7D. If I want it to expire in 1 hour, just write 1H. So I would like this to expire in 7 days. Thank you. To expire in 7 days. So I'm done with that, and this will be .env .config. Right. Okay. Kingsley, you're welcome. Okay, so finish doing this .env. What's the next thing we are supposed to do? Right? Now, there's something I noticed, or something I read about, and something I'm still realizing it. Now, you're not supposed to send the access token and the refresh token um in plain text to the front end to store, maybe on local storage or session storage, because if somebody has your refresh token and access token, the person doesn't really need to log in as you again, because the person is already you. If the person's access token expires and his refresh token is valid, he can continue logging as you. So there's a way the back end can tell the front end to save refresh token and it will save it in such a way that your JavaScript cannot have direct access to it. But I think you guys can actually go and research on that. I'll just show you how it works on the back end, how that works on the back end later on. But later on in today's class, but I'll just send the refresh token and access token together to the front end for now. Let's just see what we are doing. So I'll just say res dot send user details. The user doesn't have any details but his email the user has. So I'll just send this email access token, and refresh token. Then 5 minutes is too much because we want to see it expire. So I think 1 minute will be okay. So I'll just say times 60 plus 60. So finish. So we have our access token, we have refresh token. Then when we want to refresh our token, what we want to accept is req res. Remember that this refresh token endpoint is going to be open, but it's going to be checking for the refresh token if the refresh token is valid. Okay. So it's going to be checking if sorry, please give me just a minute. Okay, so sorry about that. Sorry about that. So sorry about that. Okay, so now what I usually do here is, in fact, we are supposed to have a route to a middleware route. So yeah, a middleware route. So I could just say app.use, or no need for me to use app.use. I could just write the middleware function. So I'd say const middleware middleware should be REQ next. So this middleware is only for the protected routes. Let me take it close to the protected route so that you guys will see. So this would be, and this is what I like doing. So in here is where I'm going to do my check-ins. So I would say const this that should be equals to REQ dot headers dot authorization dot no yeah dot split, and I want to split by space so that here would be the type or token type, and here will be the token. And in fact, I'm not even sure of using this token type, so let me just well, so sorry about that. Then this is what I'll do normally. Now I would say before then let me just do .env here, and move this access token access token key without the quotes, not necessarily. Then please, it should not be short though. You know how key is not long in real life, but nobody can guess this thing. Nobody can guess this. Don't put something that people can easily guess. So refresh token key. So right. So I have access token key and refresh token key. So come back here. So process dot env dot access token key process dot env dot access. So if I'm not mistaken, this access token key, refresh token key. Beautiful. So yep. So this part now I would want to check. So I'd say const the what's it? Yeah, the codec should be equals to uh jwt.verify, and the verify. I'm not taking into consideration the token type though. So I'll just say token, and so in case you have, maybe in case you're using the modular JavaScript instead of CommonJS, and then your rule states that there should be no unused variable, and you want to escape it, you can just put an underscore before the variable name. So it will make it appear as if it's being used. Because if I remove this underscore now and I hover, it will say token type is declared but never read. But once you put that underscore there, to make it look as if it's being used somewhere. Okay, so so you have the verify, and you remember you're verifying the access token in this middleware. So you'd say process.env dot, then you'd say the access token key. Then now the reason why I put this whole thing here is that if the token expires, right? If the token expires, you can actually check if the token expires here. Like you can say if you can convert it to date or something, you can check it actually. There's how it's being checked. But what I like doing is, because automatically if you have an expiry date, this verify will check it. And if there is an expiry, if the token has expired, it will catch it as an error and throw it. So what I like doing here is I'll just say res.send status. Status is going to be 401 because you're not authorized. Then the error would be, in fact, I think I can just send the error like that. But once the front end sees 401, their mind would understand. They'll understand where we are going. Okay, so then at this point I'll just call next. Wait. So if everything goes well, we call next. So I can decide to wrap all this in like check the token type and also wrap it words. There are like no multiple token types I'm using, so no need. Right. So what else am I supposed to do? check token type, verify it, this and that. If it doesn't verify, send a 401. Then I can use this middleware here. And after that, I can have something here to say REQ, RES. No next again. Maybe next in case there's an error that happens in that route. So I could say try catch next error. Remember I said that this is how I like handling my errors so that it will go down to these two brothers. Or it will, sorry, not these two. This one is if you're trying to visit a route that doesn't exist to create a 404 error for you. But it will still pass that error down to this our final brother here in the Lord, which will now throw that error to you. The error might splash on you actually. Sorry. Then what you want to do here would be to say that you have reached the protected route. Right. Then how do you refresh your token? So now let's come here. This is the most important place. Remember that this refresh token endpoint is to accept a refresh token. So you'd say that should be equals to req dot for the refresh token. Although remember when I started this class, I said that this refresh token, right, should be, there's a way to save it on front. Okay, so yeah, there's something I wanted to say. Rather than say res dots after creating your refresh token here, so if you want it to be more secured, you're going to do this res dot cookie dot sorry. Okay, so set cookie name. Okay, sorry. So this so you can set the cookie. So this is your back end telling front end that, in fact, why am I keep putting it here? You can put it there also, it's valid, but it's better to do res dot set dot cookie like that dot send. So if you want to set the cookie and you want front end to store it so that your JavaScript doesn't have direct access to the cookie, you do it like this. So you say the name is maybe refresh token, then the value is the refresh token itself. Then this configuration is very, very important. Now, if your front you see this thing might give you sleepless nights. Listen very well. If your front end and back end are running on different domains or different websites, there's a configuration you give it. And if they are running on the same domain but different subdomains, there's also a way you configure it. Now, the first and most important one is it same site? So this same site is asking, is it the same origin or it's like cross origin? So when I mean same origin or cross origin, is the front and back end running on the same ports? Like are two of them running on port 3000? Or is back end running on port 3000, but front end is running on port 5000? If front end is running on port 5000, back end is running on port 3000, they are not the same sites. They are not the same origin. Abi? So if they are the same origin, you can use strict or you can use lax. But if they are different origins, right, then you would use none. Now, none is saying they are not actually on the same site. Like the two of them are not on the same site. But then using none comes with another thing to be compulsory. Now, that thing that will be compulsory is secured will have to be true. If you're using same site of none, secure has to be true. If you're using same side of now, this secured here true. If you change it to false, your front end and back end will not communicate. If you're using same side of none, this secure has to be true. If you use false, let me even check if it is going to try an error. It might not try an error, but it will not work. But then if you're using lax or non or strict as your same site, I can't remember the difference between the lax and the strict currently. But if you're using lax or strict is used when the origins are the same. Like for example, if the two of them are running on the same port, or if the name of your site is like matilda.com and then your backend is api.matilda.com, they are on the same site, but they are using it. The backend is using a different subdomain, but the front end is still the domain itself is still the same. So that one you can use strict, or if the back end and front end are running on the same port, like two of them are running on port 3000, yeah, you can use strict or you can use lax. But if you're using strict or lax, this can be secured false. But if you're using none, but for now, I'm not including this. It's if you want to actually go and study into this. I don't really want to go into this stuff and how it works with the front end, but if you want to really study this, you can go ahead and study it. But the other configurations you might want to do, if it's HTTP only or HTTPS only, so this will be true. Now, if you did lax, if you did same site of none, you cannot save your okay, yeah, you cannot save your even your local host on HTTP. You have to save it on HTTPS. Like I've generated certificates for React and Express before. Like React was running on HTTPS localhost 5173. Backend was running on HTTPS localhost 5000. So if your blood strong, you can do it. You can generate those certificates. I used MK sets to do it. I think I mentioned it in the group. If your blood strong, it's not difficult, but you can do it. So secure means it has to use HTTPS. HTTP only means if you set HTTP only to true, then this cookie that you're sending to the back end and to the front end, sorry, is only going to be accessed when you're making make that request response. Your JavaScript will never or will not be able to access this refresh token, right? If this HTTP only is false, then your JavaScript can see the refresh token and like have access to it and do whatever it wants to do with it. But if this is true, then that access will not be there. Then what other? Then this expires. You can set what time it should expire. You can read about or you can sign a token, right? So there's like signed tokens also, which you can check before using. But this is just by the way. Let's continue. Let me just finish what I'm supposed to do. So we have this email access token, refresh token. let's come here. So we get our refresh token, and then we want to check if this refresh token is okay. So we'll say first, we want to check if the refresh token exists. Let our user not do us dirty. So if there is no refresh token, then ras.send, please, you have to ask. You need to ask your users why they have the audacity to send an empty refresh token. So you say, you say 403. Maybe 403. 403 is like you're forbidden. You say 403, which is forbidden. Then you now say message empty or invalid. It's empty because you're checking if it's specifically empty. So empty refresh token. Then remember to have a return here. Then what else would you want to do? Const. Now remember, okay, Matilda, I've seen your question. Yeah, so if you're now the cookie you're setting to expire, remember that cookie, you're not storing it on the back end. It's the front end that is storing it safely somewhere that JavaScript cannot reach. You get, so if you wanted that automatically, it should invalidate that token after. It's not, so that's why it's not even compulsory for you to set it. It's like an option. So if you want to set it, set an expiry date for the token, for the cookie, you want the front end to set. Hey, you can do that. If you don't want to set it, it's also up to you. Okay, so it just depends on you. Right. So you want to say value should be equals to jwt dot verify. You want to verify what the refresh token, and then process dot env dot refresh token key. Where is it? I think I passed it. Yeah. So you would want to verify it, and I'll still like to wrap this in a try and catch. In case that token expires or has expired, we will not have any issue. We will not, it will not give us too much issues. So where did I do that stuff? Okay, I can just copy this again, but maybe this one you can explicitly say maybe message that the user should log in or relog in, or maybe refresh token or relog in. So yeah, could be relogging, but and also you know your maybe if the access and refresh token expires, right? There's a way on front end to mark that a particular request has been retried, right? You can, all these things you can refresh, or you can research on it. So relogging. Okay, you're not done here. So once you're able to verify the token, there's no issue. So what you want to do, or what me I would like to do as a user is remember that, okay, once you verify, remember that this token contains some things. The refresh token contains the user's ID and the template ID. So first you want to find that user. First, user should be equals to users dot find. You want to find you where u dot id is equals to user dot id, right? So you're finding in the list of users, you're looking for a user whose ID is equals to value dot id. Value, remember that value is what we get when we decode this refresh token. Remember that your refresh token contains ID. Refresh token contains ID and temp ID. So once we find our user, we want to check if that user exists, and you can decide to break it down. In fact, I would like to break it down. If the user does not exist, then press dot status for dot send. You want to send a message that user not found. Then can continue. But then if the user is found, you want to check if user dot id is not equals to value dot id. Sorry, if user dot temp id, that's the temporary id you assigned and you added to the token, right? Remember that for the refresh token, we did not we added a temporary id. It's only in the access token we have the user id and the user email. If there was a row, I also put it here. But on the temporary id, what I just did was I signed a user ID and a temporary ID, which I generated and stored on the back end, right? What some people do is, you see this refresh token, they will store it somewhere, and then, or no, what they do is when they log in a user, they create a refresh token, and then when the user like comes here to refresh his token, as the user is sending this refresh token, they store it on their back end. But they first check if this refresh token is stored on a table. If the token is stored on a table, they know that token is trying to be reused. You get, because any token, so you might have a database where you store tokens that have not expired, but they've been like used to refresh. That's a user has used them to get a new access and refresh token. So you might want to store it on your, on your back end, right? But I don't want to follow that approach. So what I just did is, so each time the user uses his refresh token to get a new access and refresh token, as I'm giving that user that access and refresh token, I am creating another temporary. In fact, I'm reassigning this temporary ID to a new temporary ID. So that if someone tries to use the former ID, to get the token, to get a new refresh and access token, once the user reach this, or once that person reach this particular point, it will hang, it will hook that person. So if this temporary ID is not equals to, if the user's temporary ID is not equals to the valid temporary ID, then is what you will do. You want to say, so 403 because I forbid that person. So I want to say the temporary ID is not equals to the user ID. So I'll say invalid token because the token you're giving me, or you might say reused token, or this token. Well, invalid token, but this is a security threat. In fact, once you see this thing, the first thing you should do now, let me explain it again. Now, this could happen if someone has stolen another person's temporary ID, but that person has already refreshed it. Okay, let's take for example, Matilda is logged in, she's using her PC, and then her access token and refresh token has not expired yet. But then I copy her access token and refresh token, and I want to go to my own browser and then put it there and visit the website that she's on. But before I do that, maybe her access token has expired, and then she now requests, normally now it's automatic, so it will request for a new refresh token and access token and save it on her own end. Then me now, I've now come with the one that was there before. You understand? And then I now save the access and refresh token on my browser, and then I now try to go to that website. So as the first request I make is going to now use that that refresh, it will first use the access token to make the request. Then the backend will say, oh, this access token has expired. Oh. Then of course that automatic refresh will want to happen, that the user wants to, the front end will want to send an automatic refresh to the back end, like to ask for access token and refresh token. So when that happens now, the temporary ID that Matilda currently have and the one that my own refresh token is sending will not match. So at this point, it's not, you might want to log everybody out, right? If you decide to just send maybe an error message alone, it's fine. But if it's me, I would log everybody. What I'll just do is this temp ID that I created here, right? At this point, I will just say that user.temp ID should be equals to null. So that person that is attacking, if Matilda is not logged in, nobody should be allowed until everybody has to go back and put in the username and password and log in. You get? So in fact, at this point, I can send an email to Matilda to tell her that someone is trying to do one or two things. Okay, so that's what I want to do here, but I should just do it. Come on, you guys can do it. So if they match, if the two of them match, then what I want to do is um I'll say users should be equals to users.map u. Then here I'll say if u dot so I'll say if u dot id is equals to value dot id. Remember that value is the decoded part. Then I would want to say return u, comma, then I want to say temp ID should be B4. This is going to generate a new temporary ID for that user. Okay. Then I'll say return you. If it's not that particular user, return that user. So then what next? What next? What next? Okay, now the next thing I want to do is create the access token and refresh token. So I need to find that user again. I need to find this user again. Because remember that we made an update here. So this will be updated user. Okay. So for this updated user, I can just come here and copy everything because I have the power to do so. So what do people usually say about discipline? Discipline is about knowing that you can do something, but not necessarily doing it. Right? I think that's like the truest form of discipline. What do you guys think? So at this point, I can send the access token and the refresh token would be Kingsley, that's not discipline. Kingsley say, what if I don't do my task? But you know you can do it, but you don't do it. That's not discipline. Hmm. If you don't do your task, no problem. You want to be disciplined that way. We also discipline you that way. You will not move to the next stage. Okay. You know, so discipline in the sense of like when let's say for example, maybe spending money on a normal, you can actually like spend everything on maybe your whole salary or your whole cash you have like on the first day it comes. But you have the ability to do it, right? But because of the consequences that will come later on, and even if there are no consequences, maybe you know that you still make that money again, but you can't just spend everything. So that's like you being disciplined with your own money, right? Or sometimes maybe you have a quarrel with someone and then maybe the person is insulting you and that you can insult the person back, but instead of insulting the person back, you just maybe look at it and walk away. Like not that you don't have the ability to like maybe talk back, but just you just walk away. Right? So don't mind me. That just came on the side. So what I'll do is the ID. Wait, what did I do here? Find where. So remember that the users are not using ID alone, they're using underscore ID, which is very, very important actually. This is how I would have run into one very, very, very crazy bug. I hope I'm not doing that again. Okay. Okay, so what I'll simply do is just change every of these places I have user details to updated user. So let's go over our code again. Now I can comfortably come and do this thing that I was saying here. I'll just come here and say, if the user, okay, this is another place. If the user dot underscore ID, so here too, if the user dot, that's if the user with underscore that ID, that's in the list, right, is equals to that, then I want to set his temporary ID to null. Then I might decide to send an email to notify whoever I want to notify that something is going wrong already. So this will force everybody plus even the real user to log in again because now obviously your refresh token doesn't have any record to be used to match it. So you have to log in. You have to log in and like get your refresh token and access token from your login route. So all these things I've been writing since. Let me test them. And if all of them works without any issue, people should fear me. All right. Don't worry, I'm just laughing today a lot. I don't know why. I think it's the joy of the Lord. So I'm just going over my code again. So I think I should just do equals to users.find you, where you dot underscore ID is equals to req dot decoded dot ID. Okay, so I rather want to convert this to an object with a message that you have reached a protected route and your user details should show. I could decide to hide the password. So, so I could do this. User details, password. So this is what I'll do. Dot 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 user details. Okay, that doesn't work there. I could leave password there. So this is me excluding password from the user details. Then I could do that. So the structuring must be last. So this is what they mean. Oh. All right. I've written a whole lot, and this is the moment of truth. So npm starts. Before npm starts, npm install nodemon and save dev. So people that are watching, what does save dev do? Tell me in the comments in the chat section. What does this save dev do? This flag save dev. Of course, you know that anything you put dash, the dash, if you're, for example, if I did, you know, this save dev is the same thing as me writing dash d like this, right? So this is the short form. If you're using one single dash and you're using like a single word or like a single letter or two letters, that is short form. Then you have save dev. This is like the long form if you want to write in the long form. So what does that save dev do when you're installing dependencies? I'm watching the comments or the chat section to see who is going to answer. So then I could just change this to nodemon at once and save it. So I'll just say npm start. So once it finishes installing NodeMon, it will then start. Did I log anything out when I was starting? Did I? No. Let me check. Actually, did I log anything out? So in your bin, if you go to www, you scroll down. Yes, NodeMon should be only used while on development. Yeah. Yes, that's true. That's true. Okay. But yes. So, but what does the save dev do? What does it do to the dependency I'm installing? So, say running on ports, and nobody knows it. So this port is coming from here. Wow. So when you use save dev flag, right, you're installing that dependency as a development in a dependency. Notice there is dependencies here. These dependencies are going to make it to production, right? They are going to be used in production, right? Like, how do I explain it? Sure. Basically, bots would be installed when you're doing npm install, right? But so this thing is what I'm explaining is mostly useful when you're running React or front end projects. Like for example, React. When you're running React, you usually build your project and then run the production version. But on backend, right? You can also build projects on backend, but I rather just push the project like that, sha. Like building shard in a way saves time on your project and makes it a little bit faster. But notwithstanding, you can still like just push your project that way without building it. Yeah, so this dev dependencies, right, separates your production from your development, like things that you don't want to um should I say make its way to your production or something, like it won't be used on your production directly like that. When you push to production, it wouldn't uh uh should I say use those particular ones, because those, so now this is the thing. If you're running something like React, when you are building your production and development, whatever, those two are actually bundled up and then released. But then there's a way it's been like, how do I put it, separated, that the development dependency doesn't run. I can't really remember but what it does to your uh to your package or JSON is that it installs them separately. Like if I want to move NodeMon now to a full dependency, I'll just write npm install NodeMon, right? And it will just move NodeMon from dev dependency to dependency. But that save dev, it saves it here on the dev dependencies part. So that's the main difference between both. But then, of course, you're not supposed to use like the ones on dev dependencies are you're not supposed to mainly like use them directly on production, like NodeMon now. You're not supposed to use NodeMon on production. You're not supposed to use NodeMon on production. And I think most times, if you're running on production, it might not really install your dev dependencies. It might just install your dependencies and then use it. So why? Because each time you push your project online, right? Each time you push your project to each time you whether it's on a VPS or on on any platform, right? Each time you push, what happens is everything deploys, right? If it's not a VPS, maybe you're pushing to like render. As soon as you push, everything deploys. So there's no need of you having NodeMon there running on your production because everything will be deployed at the end of the day, like redeployed as soon as there's a push detected. And also, that's to your own advantage because, okay, let's take for example, you were writing a project and you were pushing online and then you installed a new dependency offline, and then as you finish installing that dependency, you just push your project like that. Your project will crash on production, but it will be running on your local if uh the production server didn't redeploy your project. Do you get? Even if it was a VPS, if it was a VPS and you were manually going to deploy the project, you have to go and install dependencies again and then deploy the project. Even if you're using Docker, right? You need to build the image. Building the image will check again what are the changes. Does the changing just need a does it need the dependencies to be reinstalled or to be refreshed because maybe there's a new dependency that has been added and the rest. So, but the bottom line is that you just have to use Node when you're on production, right? You have to use Node when you're on production so that you're not really watching for changes and the rest of those things when you're on production. You're not really watching for changes. It's offline that you're watching changes. Okay. Offline, you're mainly watching changes. So let me test what I've been writing so far. So it's running on 3000. /what? /login. Abi? Okay, yeah, /login. So it accepts an email and a password. So the contents type would be application/JSON. Then what would be here? Email. So oh, okay. is login meant to be? Oh, so I think that, oh, sorry about that. I didn't even notice that. Refresh token. Yeah, this would be a post. Which one? This protected can be a normal this thing. So okay. So let me see if I'm able to log in. What is it saying? Welcome to Express. Wow. So this is what, sorry, / login. And this is supposed to be a get endpoint. So it's saying, ah, sorry, this is supposed to be a post request. So I have my access token and refresh token. Let me just copy. Let me copy everything. Let me copy everything. Let me copy and just rush and paste it somewhere. Then I can I can make a request to protected routes. 1 minute has not passed though. Passed. Oh, has this token expired? Okay, I didn't use this token. I didn't use the access token, sorry. So I'd say authorization, era, then token. Okay, so the JWT expired. Wow, so fast. So I have to be a bit faster. So let me copy this. Marathon, my computer keyboard. So you see, you have reached the protected routes, and this is me with my details. I can decide to keep making these requests. Yay, make my request until my token expires. My token has not expired. Not expired. Come on, come on, come on. It has not expired. You know? Yep. Just keep making my request as I like until my token expires. Token doesn't want to expire. It expires. So it now expires. You see, it says error. Token expired error. JWT expired. You see, and then the expires at is this time. So now I have to use my refresh token to get a new access token. So ladies and gentlemen, let's do that. So remember that my refresh token lasts for like a day. Abi, is it 7 days I put? I think I put 7 days. So I'll then copy this
No, man, I get this one too.
and paste here. Let me check. Oh, how did I do my refresh token? Okay, you just send the refresh token like that and I verify it. Nice. So you come back here. This would be posts. And this would be where is it? Okay, yeah, content type would be application/JSON. Then your refresh token. Refresh token would be this value. This one I don't need to rush because I know that the refresh token will remain. Hey, did I log in again? Hey, this refresh token might not work because I logged in again. Okay. I remember it will work. This is the last. Remember, so so I'll just say refresh token is that value. Then I now send. Am I sending to protected? No, I'm supposed to send to refresh. Is it refresh token? I'm forget. Okay, I refresh token. So sorry. How do I exit from this one now? They now went and hit that button. Must I use Copilot? Is it by force? Why are you forcing me? Microsoft. Huh. So I've been able to create another access token and another refresh token. So let me try to use this one again. It has expired, it has expired. No get as I want take user. If I try using this one again, it now says invalid token. This invalid token, let's check where this message is coming from. If I had, so let's come back here. You see this invalid token, it has first gone and log out all the users. It has put temp ID to null before it now told me invalid token. Okay. So we've been able, and I didn't, so let me try. I would have just tried that refresh token, don't mind me. So, so whether the access token or the expires or not. So let me just use the refresh token to get another one. So I'll just say I'll just remove these ones, paste it, then send. So it gives me a new access token and refresh token. So I'll just copy the access token and see if it will work at all. Well, maybe I should just copy the refresh token and keep somewhere, you know, in case of necessity. So do that, then send this request. It works, until it expires. Then I have to now use this other access token here to get another pair of access token and refresh token. So let me just refresh the token, even if it has not expired, you know. No, so I just saw your message. So, yeah, Spartans, right? Definitely, you can make it last for like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. But now, the reason why I made it to last for just 1 minute here is because I don't want us to wait on this call for 10 minutes before I then try to make a request and see that request fails, or see the error it's going to throw. Okay, so it's based on you, as Kingsley has said. And so if you're making it 10 minutes then, and you're relying on the access token to know if the person still has access, or if the person has been maybe suspended, for example, then it will take the person 10 minutes. Like if you suspend someone now and the person just requested for a refresh token, right? It will take the person 10 minutes to discover that you have suspended him or her. But then it's good to have it longer than like 2 minutes or 3 minutes, like at least 5 minutes upwards to like 20 minutes is okay, right? And why is that? You don't want your server to be always creating refresh tokens like every time. Like every minute is creating a new refresh token, every minute is creating a new refresh token. No, that would be uh like adding a lot on the server. And like remember that whatever you're building, you're trying to also manage resources on your back end, right? You're trying to manage space. You're also trying to manage time, like make the query, the request the user is making faster to process. So not every request should, because that's that whole circle of the front end makes a request, the back end tells the front end that the token has expired, the front end now makes another request to get a new token, the back end prepares that token and gives to the front end, and the front end now use that new token to send another request. That's back and forth. It's going to, if it happens every 1 minute, it's going to be a whole lot. You have a whole lot of requests coming to your server at a time. So instead of that, at least 15 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, so that within that 10 minutes, the server and the client can at least communicate. The requests can be made within that 10 minutes, and then later on, you can decide when the token has expired, like after that 10 minutes, you can that refresh stuff can happen. That's normal. Then of course on your front end, what you're going to be doing is you can actually do a set interval on maybe on the component that is, let's take for example, is a dashboard. Of course, you know that your dashboard will be like a component, like a layout component. So you can you can do a set interval in maybe your use effects to check if the expiry dates in your uh token, has expired. But the expiry date of the token has reached, which means that the token has expired, then you can automatically pop up a modal that should tell the user your session has expired or log in again. Now, that's front end um that front end logic you want to do should take um should check uh at should I say at a longer interval. So let me explain. If your token expires in 10 minutes, right? Then that's logic to check on the front end if your token or your session has expired can take like 15 minutes, right? So while there's a new token, it can just check, oh, okay, after 15 minutes, right? Some people do it less. That okay, if it's 10 minutes, you should do 5 minutes. So every 5 minutes it checks and the rest. But well, to me, I think it should be longer. Like you should, if the token expires after 10 minutes, then the logic there should always check like after every maybe 15 to 20 minutes. So if there is like inactivity, like the token has not been, the access token has not been used, and then it expires, and then there's like 5 minutes or 10 minutes gap, and then the user has not still used it, then you can automatically log the user out or bring up a pop-up modal telling the user that this thing your token has expired or your session has expired. Okay.
All these people say, I don't even, I don't know their clothes. Unless they come, I don't know them.
So Can I make access token to persist as long as my tab is open and it expires when it closes? Then the refresh token can persist whether or not the okay. Is that proper or is it too long for an access token to persist? Not too long. Okay, so this is the thing. What you're saying, right? Is so what you can do here is, right? You can you can you can store the access token on session storage, and then you can store the refresh token on local storage, right? So you can store the access token on session storage, while the refresh token you can store it on local storage, right? So if the user closes his tab and then he opens it again, then a request is made, the refresh token, the access, since the access token is not there again now, the front end can make a request, to get the refresh token, or sorry, to get a new pair of access and refresh token. So yeah, you can do it that way, right? And then yeah, okay. So I'm not storing. So look, the thing is, I'm not storing the access token or refresh token anywhere now. There's no local storage or session storage here to persist anything. This is the backend just accepting your requests. If so, anything that what looks like somehow like my front end is this test.rest that I'm sending the request, using to send the request. The backend is just accepting your request and processing them. Matilda, do you get? There is no persist here that you're talking about. So right. So I've been able to implement that. So is there any question? Anybody has any other question to ask? Okay, so so let's try. Yeah, so yeah, yeah. So what you can do now is with that remember me button, that okay, I understand what you're talking about now, Matilda. So the remember me button is what is doing the story. Yeah, if the remember me is tick, then you can store the access token and refresh token on local storage. But then if the remember button is not ticked, then which means the access token will be stored on session storage rather than local storage. So if the remember button is ticked and then the person is logged in and the person close that tab and open it again, remember that if the person's token doesn't expire, right, then it will just load up again. So the logic depends on you. If you want it that if there is no access token, you should just take the person to log in. You can write it that way on your front end. It's left for the front ender to decide. If you want it that if there's a refresh token at least and that refresh token has not expired, you should just request for a refresh and access token and then use it. It's still the front end, is your logic. The back end's own is its own work is to wait for you once you send your request. It, it gets the response and does everything you want to do. You can make it that if the person ticks remember me, then anytime, in fact, I think, not I think, the way it even works is if there is a refresh token and then the person tick remember me, as far as the person tick that remember me and then there is a refresh token, you will use that refresh token to get a new access token and refresh token and store it and use. But if the person did not tick remember me and the person closes tab and it opens it, when you check and then remember me was not ticked, right? Because of course you store the remember me on your local storage. So if the remember me was not ticked, then you will not make a request to get like a new refresh and access token if the access token doesn't exist. You will just take the user to log in rather than requesting for access and refresh token. So that way now, that remember me, even if you don't, even if you don't store the anywhere you want to store the access token, this particular approach I just finished explaining is going to work whether you're storing a but you have to store the refresh token on local storage if you want the remember me to work. But then the access token can be stored anywhere actually. What matters is you will make the request to the back end to get a new access token and refresh token only if there is a valid refresh token, number one, and then number two, if the remember me is true. But if there is no valid refresh token or the user did not tick remember me, then instead of, even if there's a valid refresh token, take the person to log in so that the person will log in and then use the um or generate a new access and refresh token. So yeah. So Matilda, does that make sense to you? Yeah, so that's the way the whole thing works. That's the way the whole access refresh token stuff works. I'm thinking of doing login with Google, login with Google, I'm thinking. Okay, well. Oh, okay. Kingsley, did Kingsley ask a question? Okay, with this approach, does it mean that a client can only have one active session? No, no. Mm, okay, yes, actually. Hmm, that's a very nice question. Now, with this, a client can have only one active session, only one active session. What Kingsley is trying to ask is, what if a user is logged in with his phone and his laptop at the same time? You know, so if he's logged in with his phone and his laptop, which means um one so if maybe he's using his laptop and his laptop is getting the access and refresh token and then he tries to use his phone, he would then have to log in on his phone and then logging on his phone will invalidate the session on his laptop. Yes, but you can actually avoid that if you move. So instead of now having this thing, right? Instead of having where is it? Instead of having this temp ID, I have a lot open here. So So instead of having this temp ID on the maybe users table, you can have a table on its own, or a collection on its own, that has maybe user ID and temporary ID. Maybe like a joint table, a table that has the user's ID and then the temporary ID. So one user can have like 2 or 3 sessions, like 2 or 3 temporary IDs. You get, like one user can have 2 or 3. In fact, that way now, right? On the settings, you can have a place where you list all the sessions where the user is connected to. Okay, you can, if you do that, so which means there can be something like this, maybe session equals to an array. Then you say let, or yeah, sessions, because it's an array. Then instead of storing the temporary ID here, you can rather say you can say sessions dot push, and then you push in maybe the ID is user details dot ID. Then your temp ID should be user details dot temp ID, right? And then when you want to refresh your token, rather than checking, or yeah, when you want to refresh your token, remember that, yeah, when you're signing to, you would so there will also be a device ID, like maybe something like device ID, and that device ID, there's a particular package you can use to extract the details of that device that is trying to make that request. So please just give me a moment. I can't remember the name of that package now, but I want to check it and come back to you guys. So just give me a minute. I want to be very sure. I don't want to tell you. Just give me a minute and okay. Yeah, so the name of the dependency is express user agent. Okay. So express user agent. So let's go to our browser and actually see how it works. So let me stop sharing here and share it there for you guys to see. So express user agent npm. So if you click here, or express user agent for Node.js. So now see it. Express user agent is a simple Node.js express user agent middleware for exposing user agent details to your applications and views. So you can say npm install express user agents, save. Then once there is a request, right? You just say ariki.source header. This is how to use it. Var source is equals to request the headers agent, and then in fact let's try it out actually. um I, I don't, so okay, yeah, this is what it looks like. So you can save this. You can say, okay, if this is, you can save maybe the platform, the operating system, the version of the operating system, maybe any other detail you want to save. So if the user is using that same device, you just compare the version, or you can compare, if it's a browser, you compare the browser and the Windows or the OS and the platform. So if everything matches, right, you know that, oh, okay, maybe you're looking for a session where the Windows is Windows 7, the platform is Microsoft. So let's see how we can actually use it in our own code now. So let's see. So let's see how we can actually use that express super agent. So npm install express user agent. No, because I've used it on a project also before.
Yeah, you better
So yeah. Okay, so we finished this. Sorry about that. So we've installed it, and the next thing we can do is on any in or at anywhere we can just say, what did they say we should do here? So let me just copy their own code a bit. So we just say use agent is equals to that. Then we then say user agents this way. So express user agents, let's user agents equals to require express user agents. Then you said user agent is equals to this. So if we did console.log UA user for the user agent, and then let me just try to log in again. Then we come back here. Let's see the things that are here currently. So now look, see what we have. A whole lot of things. Is it a browser? Is it a tablet? Is it a this? Is this that? Is it Firefox? Is it that? Then the details here. So the source is VS Code REST client. So now let me how do I make let me use my browser. So I want to create a route that will also have the same effect, but it will be a GET request so that I can use my browser to simulate it. So I'll just need to copy this tree. Then I would come here and say maybe app.get so you can just say UA. I'll just call it UA. REQ RES. Maybe no next for now. So I'll just say rs.send done. So I'll use my browser and visit this page. So I'll just say localhost 3000/UK.
No.
And then if you check here, beautiful. Now look what it shows us. My OS is Linux OS 64. Platform is Linux. The version of my this should be the version of my browser, I guess. I don't think it's the version of Linux operating system. Then the browser is Chrome. So I can decide to save the browser and the platform, the OS and the version. So anytime I'm visiting, anytime maybe maybe I'm logging in, right? At this point where I am, so where is login again? Let me close this part. Let's come back to logging in. Where is it? So at this part where I'm trying to log in, right? When I'm trying to create the session, instead of just pushing only the user ID and the temp ID, I can also, save the details of that user's browser, like maybe his source, maybe depending on what you want to do, you can save the platform, operating system, version, and browser. I think these four are actually very, very important. So you save those four, and once you save those four, right, you can use it to identify the user. So you can say where the user ID is that user ID, the browser is Chrome, this is that, the that is that. Then it will know the particular ID it's going to, pick from. Then from there, you can now check if the temporary ID is the same. If it's the same, it means okay, it's that browser that is trying to make that same request, a refresh token request. So you can then grant it access. Does it make sense to you guys? Does it make any sense? Did you guys follow up to that extent? So you've learned something new, I guess, the user agent, right? Nobody's saying anything. So that's basically it. So when there is a list of when you want to view a list of sessions, right? For a particular user, you got just say in your sessions table where the ID is that user's ID. Then when you list all the sessions, you now compare maybe from on the front end. There's a way to also get the details of the user agent on the front end. So you now compare, is the browser the same and the version the same and everything the same? Then from there you can mark a session as the current session that the user is logged in. So that thing Facebook does now, when it lists like you're logged in on your phone, you're logged in on your tablet, you're logged in on your laptop, and then you're using your phone to log in, then shows you that this phone that you're logging in this is the current session, which means that session you're seeing here is the phone you're holding to log in, or the laptop you're using at that time. You can also use this user agent to do that check on your front end, and also this user agent just makes it simple. It's not as if you cannot do, like, you have a request or headers dot user agent, right? Coming in from your front end, you can manually pick things from this user agent. If you don't want to use this user agent request, or sorry, user agent package, you can just use this request the headers dot user agent. Then to tell you a lot of information about the agent that's making that request. Any question? Is there any question? Is there any further question? So don't know if I can actually do this login with Google that I've always talked about. I don't know if I should do it. But logging in with Google is not even difficult. So let me go to my uh wait though. I shouldn't use this particular account. I should use a different account. Just wait. I want to check if there is any particular, just wait. If there is any non-disclosure account I shouldn't show here. So I'll soon share my screen and show you what I'm talking about currently. It's still loading, so just give me a little bit of time. Okay. Okay, so I think I can share my screen. So let me stop sharing and share. So I just searched Google Console here. You can use Firebase. Oh. I mean, should I use Firebase? Uh, should I use Firebase for this, or I should use Google Console? You guys should choose this day, whichever you want me to use. Which one? Which one? Which one? Nobody's saying anything. So someone said Firebase, someone says Google Docs. So we have two people that are saying Firebase. The third person on this call should choose. Mr. Emmanuel, which do you choose, Firebase or Google Cloud? Someone said Google. Kingsley will have to use Google. Ha ha ha. So we'll use Google Cloud, and maybe in one of our meetings I might share my screen and show you how to use Firebase. So they tell me welcome, like they've been expecting me. So it's in this. So once you search Google console, you should see what I saw there. Then I think it's in this credentials part. Yeah, credentials part. Uh, then in this credentials part, um, remember to configure with the information about your application. Yeah, sure. it- so so I need to create credential. So OAuth client ID. Okay, so this request user requests user consent so your app can access users data. Okay. So the client ID is used to identify if your app runs on multiple platform, each will need its own ID. Hence, set up this. Okay, set up this. Okay, but okay. So, what are they trying to say? Am I to use a service account? Wait, okay, I'm not configured this. Hmm. So let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. I think I'm missing something. So what is this? I think I clicked on wait on. Maybe I didn't click something by mistake. Also, it's still taking me to the same place. Okay. So where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Is it that I've forgotten where these things? Um, I'm not to configure consent screen. I don't want to configure consent. So let me check this option, service account, to be sure. No, no, this is not what I'm looking for. Okay, so wait, let me switch back to this other accounts. Let me switch back. I know you guys can't see my screen yet, but you'll soon see it. Um, just give me a little bit of time. I'm here. I was thinking see I'm now. So I was right. I was right actually. Wait. When I come here and I click Auth client ID, okay, wait, let me configure this consent screen. It's like this is the reason why it is not showing. So maybe I'll say app name, simple app. User support email, my email, audience. So available within your organization. This okay, okay. So internal has to be for testing. Okay. Available to any test user with a Google account. Okay. Did not allow me to choose because you're not a Google's workspace user. Wow. That's interesting. User. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Next. Contact information. These email addresses are for Google to notify about your changes in your project. Then so what am I? I'm creating brand. Wow. Nice. Okay. So what is he saying now? Do I have to configure all these things? Google. So let me try to create an OAuth. Nice, straight. So now, Matilda, you're asking, do we need to understand OAuth for this? Yes. So OAuth 2, actually, Abi? Yes. So the way it works is that your application asks Google how far do you first, this is the application that is making this request. So, do you know this guy that is making this request? Google will say, or do you know this browser that is making this request? Google will say, yes, we know this browser, and this browser has so and so number of emails. Which one are you choosing? Once you choose, Google will send you a token. Now, that token that Google sends to the front end, remember now, that two interaction happen between the front end and Google. So Google, the front end tells Google about that you want to log in using Google. Then Google now shows like a list of, I'm reiterating, Google shows the front end a list of accounts and tells you choose one. So once you choose one, Google now takes that account and then gives you a token for that account. That okay, look, this is what you can use if you want to log in with us, you know. Then now, once you get that token, right? If you have a back end that you want to get its own JWT, you use that token and some other details and send it to the back end, to your own custom back end. Your custom backend will still query Google. How far? Is this token valid? Who owns this token? Or what account owns this token? Google will now tell the backend, okay, this token belongs to this email address with this name and with this picture and all those things. And then from the back end can then save that detail of that user if the user doesn't exist, or if the user exists, it just automatically creates the JWT and then assigns it to that user. That's you can do this access token, refresh token thing that we just did. But the bottom line is that the backend will have to, create that user. So let's look. What is a web application, of course. What's the name? I'll just say simple auth. Then authorized URIs. Where can the request come from? The request can come from HTTP, localhost, I think 5500 is what we will use because I just want to use normal HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to do the testing. Then HTTP / localhost 3000, which is the backend URL. What else? For use with requests from a browser. So invalid origin must end with a public top-level domain, such as .com or .org. What are these people actually trying to say? Coming on. So, oh, wow. It's because it's because I use that H instead of L. Then authorized redirect URLs. So redirect URLs is where you want the user to be redirected when he's given, that's to be given the token, right? That's when Google is giving back the token, right? Okay. For use with requests from web servers. Okay, that redirects. Yeah, that redirect will have to do with our back end. That redirect will have to do with our back end. So this redirect is, I think, for use with request from web server. Okay, it has to do with where the back end will be redirected to, if I'm not mistaken. So users will be redirected to this after they have authenticated with Google. Okay, this part will be appended. Okay, yeah. So this part will be appended with authorization code and must have a protocol. It can't contain URL fragments. So another thing is Google can't really redirect to Google can't really redirect to localhost 3000 because localhost 3000 is not online. Okay, so let's still forge ahead. I'll still come back here to do anything that's necessary. Okay, so now they've given us some things to do, to copy. First, they gave us client ID, and then they are giving us client secret. Okay, so I'll first copy client ID. I'll paste it somewhere. I think in my test.rest, that's where I'll post it. Then client secrets, I'll paste it somewhere also. Then so it should create those things for me. So simple auth that's created it now. So now I have my client ID and my client secret. So the next thing I want to do is to take the user to the login in with Google. Okay, so how do I do that? So you're going to use the client ID, okay, to make that request to wait, sorry. You have a client, you have a client ID, you have a client secret. You're going to use the client ID to make that request. And then once you make that request, you get the tokens, then you send the token back to the server. I think there's even a way, once you send the clients the request, that request can be sent from Google automatically to the server or something like that. I don't think I've tried that before, but this other method I'm talking about actually works. So let's see how we can do it. I'm trying to remember that URL that is being used for that of this for this purpose. I can't really remember. It's so we can just browse it, Sha. We can just browse it. So I'll just say URL for logging with Google. Oh dear. Okay, so signing in Google Flows is an interaction. So Google Identity Service, Auth authorization, step by step. So let's read their Auth 2 guide. Okay, this is the URL I'm asking them for now. auth.google.com/. Then the response type is code. The client ID is just the redirect URI. Okay, this is it now. So the first step is the direct user Google Auth server initiates the authentication flow. Okay, then you exchange authorization code for token. Then it is where you exchange that. I think you send a post request. Then once you get the token, once you get the token, you can then send that token to your backend. So let's copy everything we have here. Let's copy everything we have here. Paste it. The client ID. Remember the one that we copied now. So client ID, I'll just copy from here. Then redirect URI. Redirect URI is going to be this same redirect URI. Where is it? Let's check here. So I'll rather here, I'll just say /redirect and save it again. So I'll just copy this redirect URI, then paste it here. Then the scope will be email. All right, so remember, continue to simple app, Abby. Remember that was the name we gave it here. It's simple app. Abby, oh, it's simple auth actually, not simple app. Okay, Simple Auth is the name for this particular one, but remember that when we were doing the branding, we used Simple App. Yeah, Simple App, not Simple Auth, but the clients, whatever we configured here is Simple App. So I can choose Mfreke, and then once I do that and I click OK, it now takes me to localhost 3000 / redirect. Remember, it gives me a code and it gives me other details. Now, these other details, I can then use these other details to exchange with remember that we said that once we send the code, right? Or once we send this request, we need to exchange code for token. So we will now need to make another request, a post request with Google to exchange code for token. Okay. So this is what we do. So let's come back to our postman. So I'll just paste that one there first, first and foremost. Then I'm making a post request. I'm making a post request to that URL. Then these are the information they want us to send back. Then, so the auth code they want us to send back is this auth code. So I'm thinking this 4/2 means what is showing there? So we have this is a /, Abi. Because look at the same pattern here. So we have uh, the percent symbol 2 and F, which is a /. We have another percent symbol 2 and F, which is a /. Then we have a percent symbol 3 and A, which is a semicolon, which is a colon. So this is a / actually. If you're not careful with this thing, it would actually confuse you a whole lot. Then you add the client ID here. The client secret. The redirect URI. Okay. The redirect URI is here. the grant type is authorization code. So if I'm not mistaken, that is all that is needed. So what is it saying? Invalid grants, bad requests, invalid grants, bad requests. Okay. So why is it a bad request? Maybe I should have put back the F2 and instead of putting this here. Oh, sorry. Content type is supposed to be application/JSON. I made a mistake somewhere. So sorry, let me check it to be very sure. Oh, this ended with F, and I did not remove the F here. Okay. Ah, sorry, let me copy this back. So I have to copy this again. Okay. Yeah, Emma, no problem. Yeah, 200. Yeah, I've gotten it now. So now, what do I have? I have an access token. It expires in this number of seconds. I think is, yeah, that's seconds. Then I have a token type, which is bearer, the ID token, and the rest. So this information, right? This information I have here, I can now use to work with passport.js on my backend. So now let's look at passport.js. Let's go to passport.js. Let's look at how it works actually. So oh, I'm sharing this. Oh, this is not the screen I wanted to share. Sorry. I wanted to share this other screen.
The other one, the other one,
So What I'm supposed so where is it? Where is it? Where is it? So we have passport.js. And it's a simple, unobtrusive authentication for Node.js. Why did they have to use this grammar to actually confuse us a bit? But I think it actually depicts what they want. So there's passport, Google, Auth, OAuth, and others. A lot others. Okay. So there's Twitter, passport, passport, OAuth, passport, Open ID, a lot, passport JWT. Maybe you don't want to use the normal JWT, you can use passport JWT. A lot of people like using passport on back end a whole lot. But the first thing you need to know is what does it, you have to read the documentation to make sure that it meets your need. So strategy for this is install it, Google OAuth, passport Google OAuth, so okay, this is a meta model that combines OAuth 1 and OAuth 2. It exists for backward compatibility. Whatever all these things mean, just go Google passport Google OAuth. Hey, sorry. Okay, so we've finished installing it.
Around
Right. So mm, okay. All right. So this is what we would do. So we have just give me a minute. Google. Okay. Nice. So just you guys should wait. Okay, don't wait. So we have access token And we have what? We have ID token. Nice. The next thing we want to do is we want to use this access access token to get that user's details, right? We want to use it to get the user's whole detail, and then from getting the user's detail, you can then uh um you can okay. I think I should just do the work rather than talking. So I'll write app dot get uh login with Google. Uh then it say let's Google passport equals to require passport Google OAuth with copy this, and then what you do is you then write um so you would say Google passports dot dot use it or to strategy dot use oh no wonder it was confusing. So I have to install passport and passport Google Auth 2, not just passport Google Auth 2. So I'll then come here and say let passport equals to require passport. Then I can say passport dot strategy dot use. Sorry, that's a strategy. Passport dot use. Then or to strategy. Then
Well,
here we have
I go to- when I was studying,
so this was what I was looking for, sorry. Then I'll say new what? Google passports. And then this is going to accept client ID, client secrets, callback URL. So the client ID is going to be, wait, I already did this on front end. So there's no need for me doing it again on back end. What I need is the client's profile actually. Okay, I'll still use this to generate that profile. True. What did I copy that I'm still holding on to? Okay. So client ID would be this one. Where is it? Client ID will be this. Client secret will be this client secrets. Callback URL. This callback URL. That would be the callback URL. Then what I want to do is, the next thing is, I want to use a middleware. So so what you might want to do in your login with Google Routes is you want to say passports dot authenticate. Then you want to authenticate for Google. Then scope should be email and profile. Then the next thing you want to do here is I have to test this to see it. RES RES file. So log in into Google. Do you even really need to send anything here? Passport to authenticate Google email profile.
Yeah, I got job. I used to remember sugar.
So it's quite confusing if you're using passports. This is quite this where it gets quite confusing using passports. This where it gets confusing. So when you're logging in, just give me a short while, give me a short while, give me a short while. Because everything is looking confusing to me at this point. Just give me a short while. I want to steal from myself. So okay, so you there's a route to request to log in, no doubt. Then okay. Mhm. You just give me a minute.
That's waiting.
Okay, I'm actually correct, actually. It's not like I'm missing anything. I'm actually correct. I'm actually correct. Sorry, guys. I don't know why I even got confused at the end of the day. Okay, what I got confused, let me say where I got confused was at this point. So after saying that the strategy is Google, after saying the strategy is Google, the next thing I want to say is session should be false. Now, this session false here is trying to tell the backend that you shouldn't try to start up any session. Now, session authentication is different from token authentication in the sense that session um session is going to be handled by the backend primarily, right? Well, like token-based authorization or token-based authentication is handled by the front end mostly. So So let's make a request to log in with Google and see what is going to happen. This should be get request to http:// localhost colon 3000 / login with Google. Localhost colon 3000 / login with Google. Okay, because I didn't save this file actually. Okay. So let me look. Let me see. Oh, so the Auth 2 strategy requires a verify callback. Okay, I understand why. Where is it? So there will be a need for something here. This first one would be the access token first. Next will be refresh token. The next one would be, I think, the user's profile, then a callback. So, but I'm not going to use this two, but the profile is what I'm actually looking for. So I'll just say console.log the profile. Then I'll say callback user. Abi, callback no profile. So once I do this, I think, yeah, the backend is now up again. So let me make this request. It's taking time. It's taking time. And you should return a response. Okay, I understand what this is. I think it's trying to show me the, okay, so this is what we will do. I'll continue this class, right? We'll complete the remaining part of this logging in. So I'm going to like trace what's keeping the whole the platform, right? So because I believe there are some things that I really need to look into again, right? So we'll continue this class, but it might not be recorded. So once I come out, start from where I stopped, and then we'll finish it up. And it might be any, I would pass the information, not really that. The access token and the refresh token. I believe you guys understood that part. So we would complete this other parts. I've already taken too much of the time. So see you guys in the next class, and yeah, bye for now.